One of the most common questions that I get asked all the time is, how much protein should I be eating? And it's completely understandable because if you're trying to lose weight or burn belly fat, then one of the biggest factors to consider is protein. That's because protein can help you preserve muscle mass while you cut calories and body fat. But it can also help you feel full, so you naturally end up consuming less food. However, the problem is that there is no single magic number for how much protein you should consume that will automatically lead to more fat loss. Because in reality, the exact amount of protein that you need depends on many different factors like your age, your activity levels, your body composition goals, and of course your current diet quality and your training variables. So to figure out how much protein is best for you, I'm going to go over some guidelines and general recommendations based on the latest research to help you figure out where you stand and what you should aim for. First, to start, let me first explain the two main benefits of getting enough protein for weight loss. First, as I mentioned earlier, it's gonna help you preserve muscle mass. Now, when you're cutting calories, unfortunately, your body doesn't know whether those calories are coming from protein, carbs, or fats, so it's gonna break down muscle tissue alongside body fat for energy. However, by raising your protein intake, you can help shift your body's primary source of fuel from muscle to fat. In fact, studies show that simply increasing protein intake by 25 grams per day can lead to an 8 pounds loss of body fat over the course of 12 weeks while retaining muscle mass even with no change in calories. The second reason is that protein can help you stay full. This is likely due to the fact that protein has a higher thermic effect of food than carbs or fats. This means that your body burns more calories digesting and metabolizing protein. On top of that, protein tends to slow down the rate that food is emptied from your stomach into your small intestine, which prevents blood sugar spikes that can stimulate appetite. In fact, one study found that increasing protein from 15 to 30% of daily calories led to an 800-calorie reduction in daily intake without any changes to hunger or satiety. That said, we have to look at the type of protein that was used in the study. Unfortunately, it was whey protein, so there could be a possibility that the results would have been different had they used a different protein source. But nonetheless, this is one of the best controlled studies on protein intake, and it does support the idea that eating more protein can lead to fewer overall calories consumed. Now, you'll often hear people talking about getting their protein from sources like lean meats, poultry, and fish. But the truth is that you can get high-quality protein from a variety of plant-based and animal-based sources like beans, lentils, tofu, quinoa, Greek yogurt, and chicken breast. All of these foods provide all 9 essential amino acids your body needs, and regardless of the source, protein digestion and absorption is very similar. For example, a recent meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Nutrition showed that protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, or PSAS, is similar among various beef, pork, fish, and dairy products. It usually ranges between 0.91 and 1. Of course, this doesn't include plant-based proteins, but a separate meta-analysis did find that plant-based protein sources have similar bioavailability to animal products as well. That being said, there are a couple of caveats that you should be aware of. First, the bioavailability of certain amino acids like methionine and lysine can be lower in plant-based foods like rice and wheat, which can reduce the overall protein quality. This is why combining complementary proteins like rice and beans or peanut butter and bread is important, because each food provides the amino acids lacking in the other. Second, protein quality can decrease when plant-based foods are exposed to heat, processing, or are improperly prepared. For example, boiling rice for a long time can cause significant amino acid losses. So cooking methods like steaming, stir-frying, or microwaving may be better options. Now, as far as how much of these high-quality protein sources you should be aiming for, there are several different recommendations to choose from. The easiest recommendation to follow is the ARDA, or recommended dietary allowance, which is usually set at 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight or 0.36 grams per pound of body weight. Now, according to a review of 19 randomized control trials, a protein intake of 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight is sufficient for preserving lean tissue during weight loss. However, if you want to maximize fat loss and preserve more muscle mass, then you may want to consider the higher recommendations. For example, a protein intake of 1.2 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight has been shown to maximize weight loss and improve body composition outcomes. Now, another option is the American College of Sports Medicine Position Stand, which recommends 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight for those who are trying to build muscle strength and 1.2 to 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight for those who are trying to lose body fat. Now, although getting enough protein can be beneficial for weight loss, it's not necessarily going to be a direct correlation. For example, a 6-month-long study on obese children found that even though participants increased their protein intake by 1.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, they only lost an average of 2% of their body weight. On the other hand, there are plenty of examples of people losing a lot of body fat on far less protein. Ultimately, everyone responds differently to varying amounts of protein, and the ideal amount is mostly going to depend on your current diet quality. If you're someone who currently eats very little protein, then increasing your protein intake will likely be more beneficial for weight loss than if you are already getting a lot of protein. This is because you'll experience more of a filling effect from protein when you're still getting a low amount, and your metabolism won't have a chance to adapt to a higher protein intake. That's why if you're currently below your estimated needs, a good strategy is to start by upping your protein intake by just 25 grams per day, and then track your weight loss progress over the course of a few weeks before deciding whether to raise it further. Another factor to consider is that if you don't train hard, then you may not need as much protein. For example, a recent study found that participants that were instructed to perform resistance training 5 times a week needed around 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, but the group that performed training just 2 times a week only needed about 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Although these numbers fall within the previously recommended range of 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, it shows that the more you lift weights, the more protein you may need. This is because exercise increases the rate of muscle protein breakdown, so you need more protein to repair that muscle tissue and stimulate growth. Now, this effect also applies to cardio. For example, a study found that runners required 1.2 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight to maximize adaptations compared to sedentary controls. So based on this data, if you're not lifting weights or doing a lot of cardio, then you can probably get away with needing less protein. Finally, as you get leaner, you'll likely need less protein too. This is once again related to the fact that muscle protein synthesis rates decline as you lose body weight. For example, a study found that participants that lost weight through dieting required about 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. That's lower than the minimum recommended intake of 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. Based on the available evidence, it looks like the more fat you have to lose and the more you exercise, the higher your protein needs will be for weight loss. But ultimately, the best way to find out how much you personally need is to simply play around with different amounts of protein and see how it affects your hunger, your energy levels, and of course, your weight loss progress. And remember, if you want to accelerate your fat loss with a simplified approach that includes a customizable diet plan, a recipe book, a full workout plan, and a coach to guide you through the entire process, then you'll go through a streamlined process that includes a comprehensive analysis of your lifestyle preferences and goals, allowing us to craft the perfect plan that fits seamlessly into your life. With our program, You'll enjoy delicious, satisfying meals that are centered around whole nutritious foods. Our workouts are designed to be effective, efficient, and enjoyable so that you can achieve your goals without sacrificing the things you love. And we'll be there to guide you and answer any questions you have every step of the way. To find out more, you can click the link in the description or you can visit our website directly. I'll see you guys soon.